Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Auscast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Auscast.
Simply head to auscastnetwork.com for details.
John Paul, rather than me sit here and flap my way through a horrible descriptive explanation, can you paint me a word picture of what Adam Vine is?
Well, Leon, I can certainly try.
Do you need a lozenge?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
The scene opens with a mid-shot of a single person sitting in an office chair. The room surrounding said person is a typical teenager's room. Dark sheets on the bed, gloomy, curtains half drawn. He's sitting at a desk, and from his mouth just pours a cloud of thick vape. And it lays on the desk for a second, attempting to create some sort of graveyard fog, one might say, until in just the blink of an eye, that fog is whipped away. The single character turns to the camera and with an anguished look on his face simply says, "Adam." And that's where the scene ends.
Chilling. John Paul, chilling.
Chilling.
Your description of the story itself, the anguish, the heartbreak, the vape, chilling.
Is it because I couldn't think of a better word than character?
Possibly.
I blanked. I was like single something.
John Paul, you know me. I'm not one for talking, blabbing, babbling, describing, or anything like that. Can you please?
God, you could have fooled me, Leon.
Oh, you're a funny one. Could you please paint me a word picture of I'm reading Harry Potter? What do you want?
Leon, I'll certainly try. The scene opens with a close-up on a pregnancy test that we're led to believe is positive. The pregnancy test is moving, being held by the same person who holds the camera. The camera then pans up from that pregnancy test as the voice, a woman's voice behind the camera, explains to a man sitting on the couch reading a book that they're going to have a baby. And she sounds pretty excited about it. The man proceeds to drop his book and berate the woman who is behind the camera for interrupting his reading of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, I believe it was. And that's it. The scene ends.
Chilling, as always.
Powerful. Powerful stuff.
John Paul, this week we're talking about road work ahead, as we're calling it.
A good vine.
It's a very good vine, and as with most vines, I remember viewing it with you for the first time. This vine of mine and yours, but as you know, I'm not one for blabbering, talking, describing, discussing, going on more than I have to at times when words are needed. So, John Paul, can you please, for the sake of not just me but also the listener, yourself, and your family, paint me a word picture?
Why did you mention family?
I'm sorry. Do you not want to do... Is this not for your family?
I'm just afraid. But Leon, let's not dwell on my fear.
No.
I'd love to try and paint you a word picture. This vine opens with a close-up of a sign that reads, "Roadwork ahead." The camera then pans to a subject in a car driving, which is a bit of a whoopsie-doodle. It zooms out to expose his whole face to the camera, and the subject then says, "Roadwork ahead. Yeah, I sure hope it does." And that's the end of the vine.
Shivers down my spine, as all your word pictures tend to give me those chills, those thrills, those Sunday pills, for anyone that knows Grinspoon, which is probably not many.
Yeah. I mean, I wish you could see me when they happen. I just sort of, my eyes roll back, I go into a trance. It's just some sort of weird prophecy I'm telling.
In the editing process, I have to cut out the 3 different octaves that John Paul's voice is in to make it sound normal. All the whooshing.
My vocal cords split apart. It's like 3 people talking. Yeah, it's crazy.
But John Paul, as is tradition, because I just can't think of any other way to enjoy a vine, could you please paint me a word picture of It's Wednesday, my dudes?
Leon, I can certainly try. Our vine opens with a close-up of a single character standing in a well-lit bathroom with goggles on. He simply says to the camera, "It's Wednesday, my dudes." The scene then cuts to show a wide shot of the same character, revealing that he's wearing a rather tight-fitting Spider-Man costume. He then lets out a cathartic yell that sounds like a goat being slaughtered, but in a good way. And our vine abruptly ends right there.
Touching, John Paul. Moving.
Oh, it's a masterpiece in vine work.
It's
vine work?
Vine work. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's great.
We're talking about It's an Avocado, thanks.
It's an avocado, thanks. A sweet, sweet vine.
It is one of the purest of vines. But as is my brain that acts like a sieve most of the time, John Paul, I need you to paint me a word picture of It's an Avocado, thanks.
Well, Leon, I can certainly try. Our vine begins with a mid-shot of a child sitting cross-legged on a very comfortable-looking carpet. It appears to be Christmas Day based on the ho-ho-ho wrapping around a present. A baby crawls in the background, and although it's not explicitly said in the dialogue, a child plays elsewhere on a beautiful lawn. The child is excitedly unwrapping a present, and as he tears away the paper, it reveals a single, ripe, juicy-looking avocado, to which the child reacts, "It's an avocado. Thanks," and places the avocado at its side. And that's where the vine ends.
Just so pure.
Yes. Oh, so sweet and lovely.
We're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about. I type in Rhino. Oh my god, to get it.
I think it's quite widely known as like "Oh my god" vine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that'll be fun when I have to name this episode. But it involves a rhino and a man. But
god.
I just can't, for the life of me, remember what happened. So John Paul, can you paint me a word picture, please?
Oh, Leon, look, I can certainly try. Our vine opens with a man crouching on earthen ground, just next to a wooden barred cage containing a small baby rhino. The man crouching is describing how dangerous these particular animals are, and taking us through how he needs to build a cage to keep them separated from the humans, otherwise they may cause grievous bodily harm. As the man is talking, the rhino walks behind the wooden bars and out into the same enclosure that the man is crouching in. He turns to the rhino and says the titular words, "Oh my God," and the vine ends.
And we assume the man is mauled by the baby rhino.
He's absolutely destroyed by this baby rhino. I actually found it quite hard to get through to the description of that vine because I honestly forget every time how funny this vine is.
It is a classic that is so classic that I just can't remember what possibly happens within said vine. So John Paul, could you please paint me a word picture?
That's not how classics work. But I'll certainly try, Leon. Our scene opens in a stadium, drenched in beautiful sunlight, with green grass in the field, and although it's not explicitly said in the dialogue, a child plays on a lawn somewhere. A man stands in the grandstands, as if cemented to the ground facing the field, and awkwardly turns to the camera. And then, with an non-committal wave of his hand, says, "What's better than this? Guys being dudes." And that's where the vine ends.
Chills, as always.
It's a great vine.
We're going to talk about a vine called Tapped the Brakes.
Yes. Just a good one.
Which, even though I just rewatched it multiple times and laughed so hard I cried, I can't remember for the life of me what happens in it, John Paul. So could you please paint me a word picture?
Leon, I can certainly try. Our scene opens in the driver's side of a car. A young couple drive through dark streets doing a classic McFlurry run at night. And although it's not explicitly said in the dialogue, a child cuddles a soft toy and sleeps peacefully. As they pass through the streetlights, we see the female character sitting in the passenger seat with a spoon of McFlurry up to her mouth. Then suddenly, the car brakes very hard. And the spoon and the spoon very quickly disappears. And and a gagging noise that I'd simply not heard before is heard very loudly. And she quickly extracts the spoon from her throat, turns to the driver of the vehicle, and through the McFlurry that is now pouring out of her mouth, yells, "Warren or Warwick, I'm not sure which, I almost threw up." And that is where the vine ends.
John Paul, usually
Now,
I either, number one, sit quiet, or a bit part the kimono into the editing process. I just silence myself totally so that everyone gets the full effect of your storytelling. But by God, I just can't even hear the retelling of that vine without finding it hilarious.
I absolutely can't. I really thought I'd be able to keep a straight face through this one, but having just watched the vine about a minute before we started, it's fresh and it is just so funny.
I don't remember it being this good. I remember enjoying it, but as I said, we watched it just before we recorded, and I was reduced to tears. I found it so funny.
Yeah.
And I've been reduced to tears again from the retelling. I'm still crying. So, what the fuck, Richard? As always, my brain is a sieve, and I cannot remember anything, including what your name is, so I'm going to call you Giovanni Polo. Giovanni, could you please paint me a word picture?
Definitely do get that memory checked out, Leon. I can certainly try. Our scene opens in a green field with a young teenage-age boy, I guess, standing in the center of the frame. And although it's not explicitly said in the dialogue, a child plays with a wooden toy car somewhere. The young man, who is the main character of our scene, the titular Richard, I believe, steps onto a white mat for some reason, it's not explained, and goes to throw a frisbee, I assume, as far as he can. But just at the end, he beefs it and throws the frisbee onto a rather busy highway. To which his friends exclaim, "What the fuck, Richard?" And that's where the vine ends.
Chills up and down my spine. Now, it is a classic. It's one of the most viewed vines, but I just cannot, for the life of me, remember what happens in this vine. John Paul, could you please paint me a word picture?
Leon, I can certainly try. Our scene opens with a close-up of a student walking through a busy school hall. I can only assume it's a school hall, maybe it's not. Her friend behind the camera offers her a can of soda. She takes the can and immediately exclaims, "This bitch empty." She turns to the crowded hall and throws the can as far as she can, yelling, "Yeet!" And the can goes flying into a crowded group of people. And that's where the vine ends.
Spooky chills for our 10th episode.
Did I jog your memory?
You did jog my memory, and thank you so much, because for the life of me, I blacked out for a second there.
Like a can hitting you in the head.
Like a can hit me in the head.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Auscast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Auscast.
Simply head to auscastnetwork.com for details.